What is Gucci YouTube? It's your boy Black with you out 3 long face skinny bod E. Of course, we are back still black with some more fire Boruto manga related content. Now, before we get in the video, you already know the dealio. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, smash that like button, share the video with your friends. Let's talk that business. Yes, sirski. Now, ironically enough, the timing was actually perfect from the time I decided to press record versus the point I actually thought about doing this video, because as of the recording of this video, this audio, we actually had some new Boruto art mural works going around in Japan. People are showing the post online, and this actually coincides to what the original video was about anyway, right? Boruto and Sarada about to whip out the meanest jump no jutsu that we've ever seen in the history of jump no jutsus. Now, they got two potential victims right here in the midst, and today we're going to focus on one of those two, being both Hidari and this guy, Code. Now, we already understand the plan that basically sets up the entire premise of this situation, right? Code has his eyes on Sarada. Ironically enough, Hidari has his eye on Sarada as well. Everybody got their eye on Sarada, and Boruto's like, let's exploit that. So that's what he decided to do. And we already understand the plan that they came up with. We're not going to rehash any of those details, right? Let's just go over necessarily what we expect Boruto's approach to be in this upcoming battle, and just focusing on one of the two, because we understand Code's whole thing is to get Sarada to the Shinju in order to bargain for Boruto in order to get what he wants. So before we get to the Shinju hideout, the minute that Code pops up, what are the moves that are going to be anticipated? We know throughout the conversation with both Boruto and Sarada, they have essentially skipped parts, right? Ikimoto's shown us a couple of panels where it insinuates that time passes by, basically to jump over to a different section of the conversation, because they spent parts of the conversation talking about, Boruto being able to fly and all of these new things, basically, getting the conversation warm. And then they shifted over to talking about Boruto's eye, Sarada's guilt, and then Boruto basically trying to dismiss the entire situation and let Sarada know it's not really that big of a deal on his case. And then we get another kind of shifting moment where we see, boom, the conversation shifts, and then we see it kind of picked up where Boruto just told Sarada something, and she rebuttals saying Code is after me. And then we get that whole entire breakdown. And then after that, whether the anime comes back or decides how to show it to us, you can either do before or after, kind of similarly with the Boruto and Kabuki situation, where, Boruto is telling Sarada to not lose hope. Was there a little bit of fluff in between prior to that sentence that we didn't see on panel, or is there the fluff that's after that sentence that we didn't see on panel? For the most part, regardless of how you want to look at it, whether it's 3 empty spots or 1, we did not see the entire conversation with Boruto and Sarada. So that already sets the premise right there. Now, in a situation where Code goes straight to the Shinju hideout, which is probably at the very least under Boruto's understanding is more than likely, that can very much well happen. So the instant he senses his chakra pin that he gave to Sarada in an open area, in an open space, he's going to take that as a sign that Sarada has been taken somewhere, and she basically used the pin to basically signify Boruto, like, this is where I'm at. Now, we already talked about how far ahead Boruto was planning, because if he's actually being brought in front of Juro, are you planning to bring people with you? And if you were, how much of that plan relied on Kawaki? Because we know how much Kawaki is actually spending his time kidnapping people these days. So a lot of question marks and holes inside of Boruto's plan, especially if it relies on him entering the Shinju dimension, whether that be by himself or with this guy Kawaki, because unbeknownst to Boruto, Kawaki has now went off doing his own thing with this guy Amato. So strictly sticking to Code, because I believe this arc in general, this whole entire attack Sarada, the Sarada, rescue arc, whatever y'all want to call it, the whole entire Code Hidari arc, it has a lot of hype that we haven't necessarily seen before in Boruto TBV. Now, going back to what I said earlier in the video, now we have specific murals, now granted from volume 1 of TBV, but murals that speak a story within itself on its own, because we got pictures of both Boruto and Sarada in this iconic scene where they are both being confronted by Code. Ironically enough, the current plan is to allow Sarada to be captured by Code, right? Early on in Boruto chapter 1, and then we see another another panel when Boruto first iconically showed up into the village, stepping on Code's face, gaining 1,000,000 aura points off of that one panel alone. So these two murals are being shown, and we see people taking pictures of it. And then even looking at the Boruto and Sarada, you know what I'm saying, panel where we see both of them, and it's the same panel where they're being confronted by Code, we can see like a Uzehiko panel on the side as well. So they're kind of really sticking towards this entire premise of Boruto, Code, Sarada, and they're throwing in the mix, right, of Hidari being there because he's the overarching theme of this entire situation, regardless. So these mirrors speak a story within itself because they're showing us key moments that Boruto confronted Code, but also how these key moments are connected with Sarada and the potential that comes with other confrontations with Code. We know that Code understands he can't take down Boruto, so he has to go about it another way. So inevitably means they have to face each other some point in time again, and it's going to be up to Boruto. Are you going to continue to spare this guy's life, or are we going to say balls to the wall and just go straight up and take care of this guy, Code, right? So in the case with Sarada, just strictly speaking on her end, whether her instructions were to simply allow Code to take her anywhere or to analyze the situation. Basically, upon the first destination Code brings you to, analyze the situation. If no Shinju are there and you feel like it's a precarious situation, go ahead and beat the brakes off of that nigga. I don't think that's a crazy instructions because, first of all, I don't think Code can beat Sarada one-on-one. So without the incentive of, yo, Sarada, let Code capture you, it probably would have been an entire thing of how does Code even get Sarada out the vicinity in the first place? We've seen her speed reactions to characters with similar jutsus on similar strengths or surpassing Code in terms of the claw marks. They have never been a problem for Sarada pre-Mangekyo Sharingan or post-Mangekyo Sharingan. So Code getting the drop on her is not something I'm too keen about, especially if she already understands he's here in the vicinity. So once he loses that first element of the surprise, he has no other win cons on Sarada. So as far as how things can play out, what likely scenario would it actually occur where Boruto and Sarada both are jumping Code? Because we understand Boruto's not going to show up until Code takes Sarada to the Shinju, and we already understand, at least on my part, how shaky and iffy I already am on that plan because Jura can beat the brakes out of you yesterday, today, and no day. You know what I'm saying? Any day of the week, Jura's beating the brakes out of Boruto. And from what we've seen, at the very least, right, from what I've seen, it will be very, very, very difficult to try to get the one up on Jura if Boruto plans on pulling up into the hideout himself. So let's say a situation where we already understand it's been emphasized. Code isn't that smart. He isn't that bright. What if he decides to take a detour? What if he decides to get too cocky in terms of his confrontation with Sarada? Maybe Sarada gets ahead of herself, accidentally beats the brakes off of Code, or maybe a situation occurs where Sarada is trying to figure out a way to allow Code to capture her, but Code is being cautious and he doesn't really appreciate that. So now he's going to be like, instead of just capturing you, let me break a bone or two and then capture you. And Sarada in her head is like, that's not part of the plan. So in the midst of her beating the brakes off of this guy Code, she accidentally drops a pen. Mind you guys, this is very much headcanon. And then Boruto senses the pen. He teleports over there. Oh snap, my mistake. I thought you were already in the Shinju hideout. We might as well finish beating the brakes off of this guy Code, right? Something like that, but it's still very short-sighted. All in all, if Code doesn't take Sarada directly to the Shinju, the long story short, and the entire premise of this entire video is he's gonna end up getting either beat up by Sarada or jumped by both Boruto and Sarada. And I believe all of these little Easter eggs are even more so justifying my stance on this video, which is why I said it's perfect timing because these mural pictures of both Boruto and Sarada, mural pictures of Uzehiko being done in the background, and then of course mural pictures of Code getting stepped on. It tells the story of not only promoting Boruto TVV as a story and increasing its popularity and attention span, but something big specifically pertaining to these three characters are about to go down in the future chapters and volumes of the story. And we already had things revolving around these three characters being in Boruto, Sarada, and Code. So let me know how y'all feel about it. What are your thoughts, comments, concerns? It's your boy Black, and she got 3 long face, skinny body. Boruto and Sarada finna jump no jutsu to mess out this man Code. How do y'all think it'll ultimately unfold? And do y'all think Code will actually get the deed done and be able to successfully bargain Sarada with the Shinju in order to get Boruto to turn himself in? Holla at your boy. I'm gonna holla at y'all. Black, out. Yes, sir. Ski.